Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And today I'm delighted to say we've got our second puzzle that we've ever done by Ricky Cruz, who created the incredible Sudoku puzzle that we did on the channel a couple of weeks ago. That was absolutely superb, featured some terrific ideas, beautiful artwork, and Ricky's been at it again. It's Halloween today, so happy Halloween. With this one, Operation Trick or Treat, and then you can see that there's a beautiful graphics he's created. This was actually created in response to a competition run on our Discord server, and this has been recommended as one of the very best puzzles to come out of that, and I can tell you it's one of the most beautiful. So I'm looking forward to trying it. Apparently it's quite difficult, so I don't know what that means, don't know how long the video will be, but we shall see. Couple of things to mention first. Obviously we keep shouting out about our Kickstarter book, which is incredible. It broke through the latest stretch goal last night, which now means that Mark and I will be creating videos to accompany all of the new puzzles that are going to be in the book. So we've got hopefully there should be as many as 26 new puzzles created by the world's best constructors, and Mark and I will make a video on each of those puzzles as well, which is fantastic. And what we've done as a result, therefore, is we've put up 2 new stretch goals. So if you've not seen those yet, have a look. I'll try and get the point. No, that way. That's where the card will be on the screen. Do have a look. And today's the last day to get your votes in as well for the puzzles you want to see in the book, as the 10 puzzles that will be selected by the community. Tomorrow sees us launch on Patreon our November monthly reward puzzle, so check that out. If you're a patron of the channel, obviously thank you, and hopefully you'll enjoy tomorrow's treat, and no trick accompanying that. And also on Patreon at the moment we have Mark's solve of the latest Times Club monthly special, this brutal crossword that he seems to enjoy doing, and I quite enjoy doing it. It's watching him do it as well, because it's one of the very few crosswords that I've ever seen him struggle with. So if you want to have a look at that, do check that out. Now let's read the rules of Ricky's puzzle. I'm going to read them on screen today. So it's Halloween, time to plan your trick-or-treat route through the neighbourhood. Normal Sudoku rules apply. You're a dragon for Halloween this year, and dragons don't like knights. So if 2 cells are a chess knights move apart, they cannot have the same digit. Okay, well, we're familiar with that rule. Create a 1-cell wide path through the neighbourhood that orthogonally touches every house at least once, starting and ending at your house in the centre cell. Okay, so I can see the centre cell here. Obviously, I'm going to have to explain what this means in terms of the boring grid that I've got in our software, which doesn't include any sweets or polite graphics. Okay, so we've got to draw a thing that goes through, touches orthogonally every house at least once, starting and ending at your house in the centre. Okay, the path cannot touch itself orthogonally and cannot go through any house except your house, of course. No cell on the path can be lower than the number in your house. Okay. Which suggests that it can be lower than... Well, okay. So that suggests that you can't put a 1 in the middle, but obviously we won't logically assume that. But that rule does seem a bit suspicious with regard to that state of affairs. Finally, the houses that have candy on them must be visited along the path in strictly ascending order. A house is visited the first time the path touches the house. It is up to you to determine in what direction the path runs. Good grief. Okay, so there's quite a rule here. Now, here is the boring version of the grid. Every grey cell here is a house. So the path we draw has to orthogonally connect to every grey cell. Every grey cell with a circle in it has the additional restriction that the path that we draw has to go through these cells, or touch these cells in order. So I don't know, if we had 1 here, I won't get this right, but let's just have a look. Let's imagine that's a 6 and that's an 8 or something. Let's imagine that's what we found were in the circled cells. Then the path that we draw here would have to make sure it went to 1 for... Oh, and that's not going to work straight away, is it? So it's going to come down there, through here, 4, And that's not going to work either. So you can see there are quite some restrictions, but in theory it should go to 6, then 8, and then back to the start again. So yeah, this is going to be interesting actually. Let's reset this, confirm. Do have a go yourselves. The way to play is to click the link under the video. I'm sorry we can't spruce this up in the software, but c'est la vie. With that, happy Halloween. Let's get cracking and see how we go. So I'm going to start with Sudoku. I'm going to start with a 7 in that square, look. Don't even need a knight's constraint to get that one. 5 here by Sudoku, that's these 5s. 5 must be in one of those 2 cells, therefore. Don't think we can resolve that. 5 must be in... 5 in this box is very affected by the knight's move, look. Because this square jumps by chess knight to those 2 cells. So 5 can only go here. Which means 5 must be in one of... look at this. So the 5 has to be in one of those 2 cells. Because the chess knight move from here removes this cell as a possibility. But this 5 sees that square by a chess move. So that's a 5, which means that's a 5. Unwinding our pencil marks. 5 must be in one of those 2 squares. It can't be in this square because of the chess knight's move. Oh, and there's a 5 in row 7, slightly more simply. So 5 is sort of this X-wing pattern at the bottom of the grid. By which I mean in the final solution we'll either have a 5 in these 2 squares or in those 2 squares. So that's one slash of the X. This is the other slash of the X. Now, let's carry on. We've only got 1 4 in the grid. We've only got 1 3. We've only got 1 2. We've only got 1 9. We've got 2 1s. So 1 is the only other digit here apart from 7 that is restricted at all. Let's just see if we can tidy up anything with the 7s. You'll notice that I am pencil marking where a digit can go in 3 positions in a box, as I will always tend to do with variant Sudoku. And that's just a preference of mine. Okay, goodness me, this is not... I suspect we might have to start looking at some of these more difficult rules in a minute, but let's have a look at 1s. We can lock a 1 into one of 3 positions at the bottom of the grid. We can lock a 1 into one of 3 positions in box 1. 1 by knight's move can't be in those squares, so 3 positions in box 4. 4 positions. 4 positions in box 8, but this one is impossible. Because if there was a 1 here, you couldn't put a 1 in any of our pencil marks in box 9, so there is no 1 there. So 1 is locked into one of 3 places. Now, not quite. No, okay. 1 in this box, 1 can't go here or here. So 1's got to be in one of 4 positions in... right, there we go. 1's got to be in one of 4 positions. Now if you do a lot of chess Sudoku, you'll immediately recognise this pattern as interesting. Why is it interesting? Well, that square can't be a 1 anymore. And that is fascinating, because if that can't be a 1, what does that mean? That means that 1 can't be on the path of the snake that we draw. So this has to be at least 2. I'm not going to put in all the other options because that would be untidy, but this has to be at least a 2. And 1 can't be on the snake. Now what does that mean? It means that... okay, so we've got the 2 given 1s in the grid cannot be on the snake that we're going to draw. So let us label those a different colour. I will label those ones blue. So I'm going to try and keep up with my attention to colour blindness here, and I'm going to use blue for cells that can't be on the snake, which means that can't be on the snake actually. Oh, in fact, look at the top of the grid. yeah, look at the top of the grid. If the snake can't ever visit this square, it can't go in any of those squares ever, because then it can't get out. It mustn't. It's got to visit the grey cell. It's got to orthogonally visit the grey cells, but not go through them. So now we're actually going to be able to know where the snake goes. Then the snake has to go into that square, because if it's going to visit this house, and it must visit this house, the only place it can do it is here, which means it has to go. All of those squares have to be on the snake. And suddenly we're starting to get a bit of a picture. Now the same must be true of this circle down here. One of those two is in. Now if one of those two is in, this whole lot is... in fact, look, this whole side of the grid, this whole corner here has got to be on our snake. So, what does that mean? It means today my snake is orange. No jokes. Now, okay. Oh, look, there is a 2 now on the snake. So this cannot be higher than a 2. This must be equal to 2. And that might, look, this juxtaposition of 2s looks powerful from a knight's move perspective. Nearly. 2's got to be in one of the... Oh, whoopsie. 2's got to be in one of those 3 positions in box 2. And in this box, it can't go there because of the knight's move. It's got to go in one of 2 positions in box 6. And it's got to go in one of 4 positions in box 8. 3 positions in box 4. I think we're grasping at straws here. It's got to go in one of 4 positions in box 1. Oh, okay, I will pencil mark it just in case. I don't think it's going to matter, but we'll pencil mark it just in case. So, okay, what do we do now? We've got the scales of some snake here and here. We know 1 can never be on the snake. So maybe I'm meant to use am I meant to use the ones that I've got pencil marked? Look, that square can't be a 1 anymore, because that's definitely a snake square. So the 1 in box 4 is locked into one of 2 positions now. The 1 is not here. Look, 1 is not here in box 8, so 1 must be in one of those 2 squares, so it's not here in box 9, so 1 is in one of these 2 cells. Sorry, I'm sure I'm missing something down here, but I can't quite see what it is. Okay, so we're going to have to look somewhere else, or at least I'm going to have to look somewhere else. I tell you what I could do. The circled cells. Hang on. The circled cells are visited in an order, which means they must all be different digits. So actually I should have done this at the start. I'm going to label what these can be. So that can be 3, 4, 6, 8 or 9. Now are any of those ruled out by knight's moves? The answer to that is 9. It's not ruled out by knight's move. It's ruled out because it's in the same row. Oh, good grief. Now, this one, that can be 1. It can't be 2 or 3. It can be 4. It can't be 5. It can be 6, 8 or 9, I think. That's not looking terribly propitious, is it? This one, that can't be 1. Can it be 2? No, that's interesting. It can't be 2 because the 2's in box 6 are in those 2 positions. And if you put a 2 here, that would rule a 2 out from both of those squares. So this can't be 1, 2 or 3. It can be 4. It can't be 5. Oh, bother. It can be 6, 8 and 9. I was hopeful there. Problem is we've got so few, like this, in terms of 6s and 8s, there are none in the grid at all. So it's going to be very difficult to eliminate those from any of the circles. Let's look at this one. This has got to be, can't be 1 or 2 by the looks of my pencil marks, which I will trust. Yeah, 2's ruled out because it sees all of those. So this has got to be 3 or 4. It can't be 5. 6 and 8, of course. Okay, so that one is a bit restricted. This one can't be 1 or 2. I can see, in fact, this one's in a column with 5 other digits, so this looks hopeful. Can't be can be 3. Can't be 4, 5. Can be 6. Can't be 7. Can be 8. So that one is the best one. That's 3, 6, or 8. So close to a. It is very close to a triple or a quadruple here. This one might be the key. So this one can't be 1 or 3. I think it can be 2. Yeah. Oh, that's annoying. So it can be 2. It can't be 4. It can be 5. We can see that from the pencil marks already. Can be 6 and 8, obviously. It can be 9. No! Bobbins. Oh dear, that is not good. So this was a complete fool's errand then. I thought we might get something out of these squares. Just no. Well, maybe. I was wondering if I could use the options here to see what the order might be that they're going to be visited in, but without even knowing the digits that I'm working with, it seems very difficult to do that. Okay. Would be quite useful if I could get rid of a 1 from this square though, because if I got rid of a 1 from this square, those squares would be a quintuple on 3, 4, 6, 8 and 9. So can this actually be a 1? That would plonk a 1 here. It would plonk a 1 there and ooh. This is getting quite interesting. 1 second, let me just stare at this. 1 is very limited in the central box now. No, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. It's quite difficult though to see why. Let me just see if there's a simpler way. It definitely doesn't work. Yeah, okay, yeah. In fact, if we pencil where 1s can go in box 2, it might become a bit clearer. We can't put 1 on the path, so it can't go here. It can't go here because that's in a row with a 1. So the 1s have got to go in one of these squares. Okay, so if this is a 1, what happens? Firstly, that has to be a 1. Now this has to be a 1 because of the pencil marking. You can see this can't be a 1 because of the 1 here. In this box, the 1 would be forced to be here. Now, where does the 1 go in box 1 here? It has to go there. And that, because of the 1 here, would force a 1 into this position. And that has 2 effects. 1, it breaks the puzzle because these 1s are connected by knight's move. B, it means you can't actually put a 1 anywhere in box 5 of the grid. So for 2 reasons, you can't have a 1 here. And that I'm going to use because that's going to allow me, look, to create a quintuple in the circled squares. So now this one cannot be a 3, 4, 6, 8 or 9. Ah, no! So it can still be 2 or 5, and that was a complete waste of time. Oh no. I believe the expression is, Ricky Cruz, are you jocking my straps? That is... This puzzle is really hard. It's very interesting, but it's definitely not easy. So I think... What do I have to do here? Maybe I can use the fact there's got to be a 1 in one of those two squares to limit... Yeah, okay. So it's not possible for this square to ever be visited by the snake, because if one of these squares is a 1, it will block the path of the snake. A snake coming round here could never get out. So that square is also blue. I mean, as is that square, obviously. So for this grey square to be visited, it's visited in one of those two positions, or indeed both. Golly. Sorry about this. No doubt I'm missing something fairly straightforward, but there's quite a lot of things to juggle in this puzzle. I'm not doing a very good job of it. Oh, that's interesting. This square is interesting, because if that's a 1, I have to put a 1 there. Ah, that doesn't work. Okay, sorry. This is probably what I should have done first, rather than looking at these digits. Or well, especially not eliminating a 1 from this square. Look, we should just have focused on these two squares. Let's put a 1 into those two squares. Let's make them blue, and then let's ask the question about whether this could ever work. So remember now, one of these two squares has to be a 1, i.e. the path cannot come across this top region now. But the problem is I have to visit this square, and the only way of visiting this square is going to be to come up and take this 9, and once I come up I have to turn right, and I'm going to run into a 1 in one of those two squares, because look at where 1s go in box 2. Once you can't put a 1 here, you have to put 1 in those two squares. So there is no 1 in this square. Now that is more straightforward than I was expecting. So there's no 1 here. So there is a 1 up here. So there is no 1 here. There is no 1 here. Trick or treat. You're going to get a trick if there's no 1 here. Now there is a 1 now in one of those two cells. Now what does that mean? That means that I'm not exactly sure I know what that means, if I'm honest. How long have I had? 23. Oh, it's not too bad yet. 23 minutes. So it's quite... Ah, that's interesting. So if this square is a 1 now, okay, let's look at this, because that, I think this might run into trouble. That forces this part of the snake down, where you can see that the next move, that's going to be blue obviously, the next move for the snake will connect it to the house, the original house. So the question is, how does this part of the snake do all of the things that it needs to do? So that looks extremely difficult to me. Is it though? Yeah, it is. Or am I missing something here? This now... So this now has got to take this, it's got to deal with this square and this square, but it can't come up here to do it. This is broken. This doesn't work. This is impossible. This is impossible because I'm gonna label these squares as blue now to make it a bit clearer for me as well, actually. But now let's think about what I've got to do. I've got to somehow hit these two and pick up. Or do I? Maybe I can get this square using. Oh, this is getting complicated. So. No, that's interesting. Okay, so this is quite difficult to visualize, but we know that this is connecting to home here. So the question is this connecting to home, or is this able to somehow join up to one other part of the snake? And I think it's fairly clear. It's going to have to hit home because however it moves up in this part of the grid, as it comes down, it's going to have to take this square. In order not to hit this snake, it's going to have to hit this square. Now, once it hits this square, it's completed the loop, and that means that the loop ends here. So it can't come down and affect these two regions here. So these two will connect somehow in the bottom right. Therefore, and this is very interesting and important, I think, because now, how do we touch this 3, 6, 8 circle? Can this do that job? Well, it can't, because it has to connect to this one. So it can't ever touch a cell over here and then get round and meet this cell. So the job, right, we're starting to establish this. The job of this orange end here is going to be to pick up this cell. It's got to see this one orthogonally, this one orthogonally, this one orthogonally, and this one orthogonally without breaking itself. Now, how on earth? Well, we can see it can't come up through this gap because then it reaches a cul-de-sac. So let's put those into blue. If it turns right immediately, it can never get to this square without entering a cul-de-sac. In fact, perhaps it's easier if I just make that square orange, then it's very clear. It has to do this. So this is all forced, this is forced, this is forced. It can't touch itself, so that's blue. And then it takes this square, and that completes the loop. And therefore, no point can anything reach those two squares. So this, I think, is a very long-winded way, and there's probably a much simpler way, but it's the way I've found. This square is not a 1. Now, if this square is not a 1, this square is a 1. And therefore, it's blue. Now look, this one is seeing that square, so that's now... that gives us the one in box 8. Which gives us the one in box... It gives us the one in box 9 as well. Now that's interesting, because now I can label that as blue. And oh, this is gorgeous now. Yes, look, because now this has to turn up. It has to come up through there. That square becomes blue. This everything's starting to slot into place now, because this one is ruling a 1 out of those squares, and that forces a 1 into this square in box 6. Which again, that makes that one blue and forces our loop round here. Where does 1 go in the central box now? By knight's move, it can't go there, so it must go here. That fixes it there, look. That locks a 2 into column 1 in this box. And it places a 1 in the corner up there. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We've done all the 1s. So we've done all the 1s, so let's label them all blue. And does this reveal any secrets to us about the... Yeah, okay, this being blue means those are blue. Sorry, I need to now think again. Yeah, look at this square. How does this square get visited? And the answer is, well, the answer is I'm not sure which of these squares it visits first, but it must visit one of them. And if it visits one of them, it must visit three of them. Because once it enters, for example, this square, it's forced into a single line. So this U pentomino here is definitely part of the snake. Oh yes, come on now. Now this has now been visited, so that's done. Ah, now look what we've done. Oh, this is very cool, because now these two ends of the snake cannot connect to the middle the original home, because if, for example, I try and connect that to the home, this is now stranded, it can't get out. And similarly, if this comes across and this is stranded and can't get out. So these connect to each other, which means to create the loop, these two have to connect to the original starting point, which means they can't connect to each other. So that one must go up. This one, the central cell can't come down, or this is stranded, so that must come sideways to connect to this one. Okay. Now can we conclude how this moves then? So this, does this go up, or does it pick up this 3 for its trouble? The answer is I don't know. Oh, maybe I can use I'm wondering if I can use the fact that this square has to be a 2 or a 5. Ah, yeah, look, this is interesting, isn't it? So if this was a 2, it would obviously be the first digit reached, because it would be the lowest digit of all of these digits. So it would be the first digit reached. Now, that would mean it would then have to see a 3, which would definitely be the next digit. So that it would go 2, 3. Okay. If it's a 5, on the other hand, 5 is a middling digit, because that needs to have 3 and 4 below it, and 6, 8, 9 above it. That's impossible. That's impossible, because this is coming this way and it's about to hit this, and the maximum number of digits between this square and this square is 1. It can only ever visit this cell. It could do that. That's the best it does. It visits 1 cell. But 5 is too middling. There's 3 and 4 below it. It needs to visit 2 cells, whether this is sort of coming up or going down. So this is not 5, this is 2, which means it doesn't visit this before it hits the 2, because 2 is the lowest, so it cannot hit this square. Which means this one must hit this square. Oh, this is very clever. This is very clever. So this square now is blue. This has to hit this directly, which, look, and now you can't touch the snake. Don't touch your snakes. So this has to be blue, that has to be orange, and more to the point, this now has to pick up this square, so that determines the loop. And what's more, this puzzle is ridiculously good. I mean, it's ridiculously good. We've now done everything, I think. That looks like we've created a loop. Let's just check that this loop visits every grey cell orthogonally. And it does. Now we know the order. It goes 2, and then it sees a 3. And then it goes to this one, which must be a 4, and then it goes to... Oh. Does it go to that one or that one? That was in the rules, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm going to go back to the rules. The rules were... You'll be able to see it on your screen and wonder why I'm doing this, but I don't have the rules in front of me, so I can't do that. Must be visited. A house is visited the first time the path touches the first time the path touches the house. So so that means it's this square is visiting this house next, because this obviously loops round and sees it again here, but it's so I see. So we're saying we're coming from this direction, so this house is visited next. It's visited now, it's not visited later, so that should be the next number after 4, which is 6. Therefore this must be 8 and this must be 9. And okay, so that is, have we now got a knight's move Sudoku to do? I think we do. I think we've done the snake part of the puzzle. I might be wrong about that. Look, I can put a 2 by Sudoku, look, in column 3 of the grid. There can't be a 2 here, here or here. So that's a 2. Oops, we can... in fact, this column is finishable. There's a 6 here, so the 6 must go there. This must be an 8. Still don't have a great deal of digits. The 5 X-wing, once I place the 2 here, the 5 X-wing we found is resolved. Look, the 5s must do that. This 2, oh no, hang on, that was premature. Oh no, it's not premature, because the knight's move condition, where does the 2 go? In this box. It can't go in either of those positions because of the knight's move restriction. So the 2 goes here, and now the 2 must go there by Sudoku, I think, because of the knight's move constraint. Therefore 2 goes here, therefore 7 goes here. Therefore 7 goes there, look. Suddenly we're doing a little bit better. Now those 2 squares have got to be 4 and 8. Oh, so where does 6 go in box 9? With this 6 ruling out that square, that's got to be a 6. 6 has got to be in one of those 2 cells. 6 has got to be in one of those 2 cells, I think. This square's got to be 4 or 8. 3, 4 and 6. So this square is a 3 or a 4. This square is a 3, 4 or 6. That square is a 3, 4 or 6. Now let us see, what can we do next? It's going quite well still. I know it's taken me a long time, but I don't think this is an easy puzzle actually. This 2 is ruling a 2 out from that square, so there must be a 2 here. In fact, have we done all... Oh no, we haven't done all the 2s, because we do, once we use this on this 2-7 pair, we have now done all the 2s. So 7 must be in one of those 2 squares in the central box, and one of these 2 squares in box 8. Which is nearly useful, but not quite useful enough. Nine is very restricted in this box up here. Let's put 9s into those 2 positions. 6. Okay, what do these need to be? We need to put 4, 6 and 9 into those. That's a 4. So 4 must be over this side. 4, 6, 9 here. That can't be 4. Is this seen by knight's move? Not quite. Bother. Let's have a look along here. We need 3, 4 and 9. Are there any 9s looking at anything useful? Of course there aren't. That would be too helpful. No, there really aren't. Bother again. Needs to be an... This 8 is useful though, because that means there's an 8 in one of those squares, and once there's an 8 in one of these squares, that fixes that this is a 4, this is an 8, this is a 4. Now, can we keep that going? Is the 4... Yeah, the 4 is a little bit helpful. Now this can't be a 4. In fact, this 4 is seeing that square's... So 4 must be in one of those two positions, I think. And therefore in one of those two positions. And 3, 6 and 8 into those squares. Let's see if that helps. 3, 6, 8. That one can't be 8. Is there any knight's moves seeing any of these? Of course there aren't. 3, 6, 8, 9. So this square here is 3, 8 or 9. I keep looking for the knight's moves and I'm not finding them. This is 3, 8 and 9 as well. This one has to be 8 or 9 because of the 3 that's here. Okay, well that's good, but it's not exactly enough, is it? Now, okay, let's have a look down here. This that pair there is an 8, 9 pair, and there's a 9 there. Right, okay, now we're off and running again. We go 9, 8 into those two squares. That plonks a 9, 6 and a 4 into those squares, which might be helpful. Yep, gives me an 8, 9, 3 here. And that gives me a 6 there. This one can't, you can see those two can't be 6 anymore. Let's get rid of the 6. Is there a knight's move 3 or 8 looking at those? No. This 9, okay, that's still going to be useful because that means this square's a 9. That flunks that one to be a 4 if I remember rightly. These two squares should be 6 and 7. There's a 6 here, look. So that means that one's the 6, that's a 7, that's a 7. This can't be a 3. Whoa, don't know what I did there. Pressed the wrong button. These two squares have got to include a 3. And somewhat surprisingly, there doesn't seem to be... Is there a 6 looking at them? No. Okay, well these two have got to be 3 and 8 then. Don't believe it. 3 and 8. 9 can't go there. Maybe it's simpler to go up here. Let's go up here instead. This has got to be 3, 6 or 8. It can't be 8. So this has got to be 3 or 6. Which means this square is the 8. This is a 3. This is a 3. This is a 6. 9 and 8 get finished at the bottom. That square's a 6 all of a sudden. That square's a 6. 3, 4 here, and 3, 4, 9s into those. Okay, so we can see the 9 must go here. This must be a 3 or a 4. And something must see one of these. It's going to have to be something over this side, I think. These squares here have got to be 3, 4 and 8. Yeah, look at that, 3, 8, that's lovely. So that forces that one to be a 4, which finishes the 4th. Oh, press the wrong button there. 3, 8 here. This 8 now is going to finish it. 8, 3, 8, 3. Check. Yes. I did it. Very difficult, actually. Really interesting logic today. Quite a puzzle in actual fact. There's certainly some Sudoku going on, but figuring out how this snake moved through the grid was really cool. I enjoyed that. Happy Halloween, and I hope that you managed to finish it. Do let me know in the comments. I do read them, and thanks for watching. Back later on with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.